Hello, sisters. Um, I don't know if you caught that, but I said hello, sisters. I don't know when it started. Okay, so I just realized that I did the videos in the wrong order. So hopefully you found me, and if you didn't, I don't know. Okay. What did you guys think of the audio? I don't know if it was very good because before what I was doing is I had like the music stand with the book, and then I had like a TV dinner table with the mic, and I just felt like first of all I was so far from the laptop, but also it's like the TV dinner thing makes the TV dinner tray makes noise, and the music stand makes noise, and I just felt like there was a lot of like moving stuff making noise. I think I'm gonna get one of those things that Posey Parker has, like those like arm things for the mic, because then I can just have it in my face and not worry about like what is in front of me. Um, okay. So, Benji, that last quote about the goddess, who was that by? Yes, it's one of the authors from the first chapter. I was thinking the same thing. There was this description of like a lesbian origin story for the like humans, for humanity, and how the audio was good actually. Okay, good. Because I was a bit farther from the mic. I was just trying to speak clearly and loudly. Um, I think it's this Elizabeth Gould Davis, I think. It's like all it's chapter 2. I lied. It's like all of chapter 2. Um so I'm just going to read you this like paragraph. In the beginning of time, there were only women, bearers of two unbroken X chromosomes. They reproduced through parthenogenesis, a process that occurs elsewhere in the natural world in which females give birth without contact with males. And human, that is female, society was a wonder to behold. Then some disease or bombardment of radiation from the sun damaged one healthy X chromosome, chopping off the right lower leg and creating a mutant man. This was the beginning of the end for a glorious lost civilization, in which women were at first the only and then the superior and dominant sex. For the mutation that brought men into the world began a long process that culminated in the triumph of a men's revolution and the beginning of recorded history. The revolution was so complete that it wiped out almost all memory of the earlier great civilization. But hints remain: myths of Atlantis and other lost worlds, the complexity of ancient languages compared to modern ones, ancient maps that depict parts of the world with inexplicable accuracy, and the earliest origin stories in which the world is created by a goddess. The peaceful matriarch, utopian world of the women, the first sex, gave way to the brutality of the mutants, as women who chose their sexual partners turned to meat eating men whose dietary habits increased both their overall body size and the heft of their organs of reproduction. Thus, the fall of women came through the pull of a metaphorical, not literal, snake. This is the tale spun by Elizabeth Gould Davis in a provocative, dare I say, outrageous, first first published in 1971 in the context of the resurgence of US feminism. Like that's what I said. Toststones knows who this is. She has a lot of shoutouts to second wave feminists early on in the book. Also, hey Toststones. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure if it's her specifically, but there's a couple of different. Oh, my mouse! I don't want to move my mouse. There's a couple of different authors mentioned in this chapter. Susan Cavan, um, When God Was Woman by Merlin Stone from 1976. Yeah, I'm trying to. There was definitely a point at which there's like a whole. Because the last section, it's like all in italics and it doesn't say like where it's from. There's definitely. This is clearly from the same book. Who's it by? Can never know what really happened in the beginning, but here are some stories, myths from early civilizations, as well as contemporary imaginings. Tell us they're thinking about sexuality at the origins of the human society. It's profoundly shaped by the society, context of the here, the goddess, the Amazon, safe, blah, 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 blah. There's no. It just says, and why not imagine alternatives to what Adrian Rich called compulsory heterosexuality? And then it explains this something else. It's the same tone, I think. In the beginning, the great goddesses gave birth to everything living, all of the flowers and trees and plants, all of the fish and birds and insects, all of the animals that swim or fly or crawl or walk. To some, they gave their most precious gift, the ability to give birth to beings like themselves. To others, they gave a support role. Each being they created had a special part to play in the world, and none was meant to rule over all others. Among all the richness of the world, they created people. Although they differed a bit from one another in color and hair texture and size, and they came with various configurations of body parts, their differences were less important than their similarities. They lived on land and breathed air. They took a long time to reproduce and become self sufficient. They had a great capacity for sexual pleasure and a gift the goddesses had bestowed upon them. They found that they needed to eat to sustain themselves in the world that goddesses had created, and they honored the goddesses by creating beautiful things and inventing fanciful tales and making pleasures in diverse ways with their bodies. And every time they created beauty and understanding or pleasure of whatever kind, the goddesses smiled. But it doesn't fucking say any author. It just says here's a fanciful origin story. I don't know. It's a bit weird. Also because like I don't know why there isn't like a mini number. I don't know what it's called. Annotation. Um Most of the stuff has an annotation, but this and the last page don't. So I don't fucking know. Um oh, Marina said it's the world of goddess Maria Gimbutas. Somebody recommended that to me the other day. Oh, that author at least. VF, are you talking about this Maria Gimbutas book, or you just mean the Sapphisties book? I do find it a bit like a quite strange book. But honestly, I barely ever read nonfiction, so I don't know if I have a ton to go on. Okay, so let's go back to this conclusion thing. I think it's a pretty good thing to criticize. I thought also there was like some kind of a thing at the end, like thanking the people who helped her or something. Although I guess that was in the beginning of the book too. So okay, so again in this chapter, or I guess is it even a chapter? It's a chapter, but in this chapter, she comes back to the idea of like you know even in societies where you had to be under the radar or face social stigma, it wasn't technically illegal. Like, she keeps coming back to this idea of like, we have seen that from the earliest societies, the possibility of love between women has been acknowledged, even if it is feared, ignored, or denied. And she acts like this is like a positive. The fact that people just knew it existed, that's all it took. The fact that it's unspeakable doesn't matter. Whoa. Tostone says, I have a replica of the Venus of Wallendorf made by women for women, in my view. I need more of that shit. I need more, like, I mean, I don't know how many vulva embroideries I can do at a time. That's the thing, too, though, is since I'm doing all the YouTubes, I basically stopped embroidering. Because I used to put on, like, audiobooks or YouTube videos and, like, embroider, and now I'm doing this all the time. Oh, Ocarina says it's not a quote from her, it's the video that I linked. It's amazing. She did archaeology and collected many, many goddess statues from many European cultures. It is so inspiring. Oh yeah, that's okay. That's what people were telling me about before. Not people, women. Okay. Like she also views it kind of like so women were forced to marry throughout history, right? But at least they could still get it on with each other in secret. And I'm like, why do you view it from that lens? Like, why are you viewing it as like a silver lining instead of being like, throughout history, there's a bunch of women who wanted to be together and they were forced to marry and be together in secret on the side, even though that's not what they really wanted. Like, it's very strange to me, like, the perspective. Yeah, VF says, yeah, why spin it like that's okay? Exactly. It's very, very bizarre. That's what I was saying yesterday. I was like, so I looked up, there's like, she gave some kind of a speech at something. If you just go on YouTube and search Leila J. Roop, you'll see her. Um, I I don't know if she's a lesbian or if she's bi, but either way, she has a fuck ton of issues, man. Yeah, Lita Hall says in the 19th century it was accepted that women loved each other, but they couldn't fathom lesbian sex. Queen Victoria in particular. Yeah, that happens. That's like brought up throughout the book, basically. That like, well, of course, women would like hold hands and kiss and cuddle and sleep in the same bed. Like that's how women behave. That's normal. Um, but like actual sex, that's nothing. That's not a real thing. Or it would be like actual sex. That's not sex. That's mutual masturbation. That's not doesn't count. Um, Tossstone says totally brilliant to read about our past from a woman's point of view. Yeah, I'll add that to my list of books that I want people to buy for me. I need to but even that, it's like an Amazon wish list. I tried to figure out how to do it on a site that's not Amazon. Because the way Amazon wish lists works is like I can make a list of books that I want to buy, and then I give Amazon my address, and then you can buy the books and you never have any of my information, and then Amazon sends me the book. So that's very good for our purposes. Um a couple people did it before when I was doing readings. Um, but I fucking don't want to be like supporting Amazon. I wish I could also. You know what I really wish I could do? I tried the first thing I looked up was women's bookstores because I was like, even if I have to have it shipped in from like a women's bookstore in the US or something, I would rather support that, right? And most of them don't have anything second wave, anything lesbian history. Like, what is the name? Del uh, Phyllis Lyon and Dell something, the two women who like basically founded Daughters of Bilitis, who were like instrumental in so much of like the lesbian and gay rights movement in the US. Like they didn't have a single book about either of them. And I'm like, they're like the mothers of lesbian activism in the United States, and these American women's bookstores don't even have a single fucking book about them. So anyway, I wanted to do it on something that wasn't Amazon because also some of these books are not on Amazon because they're like out of print. But I was like, I don't know how else to do it in a way that it doesn't involve me giving my address to people. So okay, we're not even past the first page. Also, like she's kind of a turf. It's so funny because like so the book is only about female same-sex love, even when they have different genders or whatever. So clearly she's a turf. She didn't put penises in here, right? Um And like listen to this list of female spaces. Women's quarters, brothels, prisons and schools. Brothels, when I think of a brothel, I think of women being inside of a building and the men come inside the building to like, sexually exploit them, rape them. And it's like she considers that a women's space because it's women who were relegated to those spaces, who were forced to say like you watch a modern documentary about like a brothel in Sri Lanka or something, and it's like it's basically a prison. They're like shackled in there, you know? Um and she's like, yeah, it's a female space because women are the ones who live there because they're the ones who are exploited and economically forced into that situation. Not because no men come in there, but because it's like women who are foundationally like in brothels. Anyway, VF says she's obviously a turf but not a rad femme, yeah. Okay. I do like how she keeps bringing back the idea that these things that like lesbianism being associated with like the term lesbian as in coined by your western sexologists, how that was like othering to a lot of people. I think that is like a really good interesting thing to bring up. Um, I just can't believe how much stuff that's like obviously a negative she brings up as if it's a positive. Like, but in places where a public lesbian culture emerged, and certainly in parts of the world without commercial establishments or social movement institutions, women continued to love women in private spaces as well. Well, like, okay, obviously, but it's just very strange. She keeps bringing up these like, it's like the bar is fucking on the ground. VF says I hate all sexologists. Yeah, hard not to. Um, I wonder if there's ever been like a lesbian rad femme sexologist. So like sexologist in terms of like studying sex, but like only like female lesbian sex. Cause like a female specific sexual specialist is probably like a fucking amazing thing that a lot of women could find very useful. Okay. That like prioritizes women's like, cause I mean whatever. Okay, never mind. Okay, let's move on. Um I also find it strange. So she brings up yes, Lita, exactly. Lita said, "How about in India, where girls are born in indentured slaves in the brothels? Is that a woman's space?" Exactly. So she recognizes that these places are like uniquely female. She just can't recognize why. It's because of the fucking oppression. Okay. Um. So it's strange to me how she brings up Christianity again, and she's like, "That's the reason that everyone went mean on lesbians." And I'm like, okay, first of all, VF's like, I'm a specialist that way. Maybe lesbians are all sexologists. We just didn't think we needed to like get a degree for it. Um, how many instances in the book did she actually bring up sexual Christianity and its relate and how it relates to this stuff? I'm pretty sure there's only like one chapter or maybe two chapters where she really talks about it, and it's like a couple of paragraphs. Um, which again, I understand that she is trying to do this balancing act where it's like talking about non-Western things and Western things and trying to make sure it's not like in any one direction too much. But like, if you're gonna keep coming harping on about how Christianity is like the basis of lesbophobia in society in like globally, then you need to like fucking substantiate that. I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with it. I'm just saying that in like the book, I don't think she did a good job of demonstrating that. Um, but also I do disagree with it because literally, yeah, Toss Stones it says it's very easy to blame Christianity. Like I many of the societies, like I was saying yesterday, literally, she's like these indigenous societies weren't so bad because they didn't like if a woman wanted to be like the hunter gatherer, she was allowed to have her own tent and take a wife. So see, it wasn't that bad. Were they being raped by the men? Yeah, but see, they weren't being ostracized specifically for their like identity label. Like it's just like throughout the book, she keeps coming back to these like horrific things that happened. Like I'm pretty sure I might be wrong. So there's definitely there like she talks about nuns, obviously, um, in the 14th and 15th century, but she also talks about in some Asian religion. I can't remember what really. I think something that we did never hear about very much anymore. I think there was some Zoroastrianism, or no, that's not Asian though. Whatever. Uh, and like some but anyway, my point is that like everything that she points out that's a problem with Christianity, there are other examples in the book of the exact same problem being like put forth by other societies. So it's obviously not a Christian specific problem. Yes, exactly. VF says the woke hate Christians though. The woke is the new crazy man worshiping. You know what's so strange to me? I literally feel so if you go and look at the Goodreads page for this, the reviews, if I'm remembering correctly, the reviews are mostly wokesters saying that this book is turfy. I assume because there's no penis in it, and because she considers people who took on women who took on male identities to be women. And I almost feel like Squeaky, what are you doing? This is some weird shit. I almost feel like in the last like the conclusion of the book is kind of like her last ditch attempt for the wokesters to think that she is just as woke as them. That's how it felt to me anyway. Um I don't know. I'm trying to read the book in good faith. I'm not opening the book and saying like, "Wow, she's evil and woke." I'm literally just trying to like read it and see what I think, and that's um that's where I'm getting. That's where I'm at right now. Like I would say more than religion, the number one common like when you consider the time periods of this book, right? Most of this book happened pre 1900s or even 1800s. Like what chapter that's whatever. Most of this book is like pretty far back in history, right? Um and the one common thing, even more common than religion, is marriage or like, partnerships between men and women. That seems to be the number one thing that's preventing women from getting together or staying together or building lives together is like the power the men have to force them into marriage or the fact that women cannot support each other and needed a man to support them, right? Like that to me, if you were going to point out like one big thing that's like the constant problem that keeps getting in the way of lesbians throughout the history of this book, I would say marriage. Oh yeah, prostitution. Yeah, prostitution and marriage were the only ways for women to make money throughout like most of history. Um, with like few exceptions like maid and stuff. But like even those kind of things, like you had to be like whatever. Okay. So anyway, it's just strange to me that she points out Christianity as like the big bad of the book, and I'm like, to me, the big bad of the book was marriage in every fucking chapter. Oh yeah, this woman was single and this one was married to a man, and they got together, and then the husband did some crazy shit. Every single fucking chapter is a woman married to a man who wants to be with a woman but can't really because she like or like secretly or part time because she's married to a fucking man. Well, yes, VF. VF is like prostitution. That's it. Men, if you want to name the problem directly, that's the root of patriarchy. Exactly. Okay. So, oh my god, this I found so fucking like over the top. And it's like it literally what I was remember yesterday I was saying about how like lesbianism has been pathologized. So it seems that she wrote this book after she internalized the concept that lesbianism is pathologized. Cuz listen to this crap. So it lists off like the Padlache and the Huame and the Thai Toms and the Indonesian tomboys and blah blah blah. All these butch femme whatevers, okay? Then she says, masculinity and attraction to masculinity has played a starring role in the history of same-sex desire. Is this pattern an imitation of a heterosexual model that exists in different if differently in all societies? I would say for the most part it is, especially when you look at it historically. They're trying to blend in most of the time. Okay? And then, or is it a sign of some essential transgenderism? That is so lesbophobic. You're saying that women expressing masculinity and a desire to be with women at the same time might be proof of some kind of innate, essential transgenderism that, like, all of the, like, because, like I said, she has this very clear idea that there's, like, blue brain and pink brain lesbians. And then off to the side, there's some of these weird lesbians who they don't seem to fit into this butch femme thing. Like according to what she says in the book, this seems to be her view of things. And she is saying like, the pink brain lesbians, are they really lesbian? They're like kind of bi, they're kind of straight. The blue brain lesbians, the ones that are like the real lesbians who like turn the straight women gay, they're like basically men. Like it's so homophobic. Toss Stone says bullshit. Yeah. Yes, VF says trans wasn't a thing. This is transing history. Exactly. So it's really bizarre because even like within, I think the same paragraph, she is like, or no, the paragraph before, she is like, we don't want to prescribe lesbianism into history because they didn't conceptualize of sexuality as like an identity that you carried that was like prescriptive. They kind of saw it as like individual actions taking place, right? So she says that. And she's like, we need to be careful that we don't put a modern lens on things. But then when it comes to gender, it's very okay to put the modern lens on things. It's very okay to say, oh, because of XYZ gender roles, or like this guy wrote in his journal that this woman looked manly. Okay, so it's proof of some internal transgenderism. It's really crazy to me how, like, in one area, she won't do the historical revisionism because she seems to have, like, some kind of, like, historian instinct to not bastardize the truth. And then in another area, it's like she has really jumped the shark on it. It's like she didn't even stop to think about it. Of course, the masculine lesbians are some internal transness. It's so fucking homophobic. Alcarmina says, "Yeah, that was weird. Ladies do different shit. It's called a personality." Fucking A, man. Um, what do you mean, Alcarmina? Alcarmina says they're a modern lens to women loving women. Um, Sheila Jeffreys recently wrote like a history of like the lesbian movement in the UK. I would really like to read that. There is a handful lesbian and lesbian history written by radical feminists. I really want to get my hands on all of it. Yeah, exactly, VF. And she says, and women who didn't fit this that she's selective didn't write about. Yeah, it's very strange. It's like she really focused on the butch femme thing. And like again, if it's because that is what the men who had, like the ability to write things down, if that's because that's what they wrote about, then say like, with your editorializing, be like, this is what we know the men wrote down, and I think it's because they found this behavior like the most bizarre, or like I think that they observed upon this more than anything else because this is what they felt threatened to them, and blah blah blah. Like Julia says, isn't Sheila a polyles? Yeah, I think so, but I still think that she will have a better coverage of lesbian crap than this fucking book. um okay. Okay, so she has this section where she talks about, oh hey bean sprout, where she talks about how so for men throughout history, as long as you were the top, depending on the society, that wouldn't really be considered gay because you're like doing the same thing you would do with a woman, right? So if you're a bottom, that's what makes you gay. And throughout this book, she has said many, many times, it's not. Sometimes she references it to do with the sex act, to do with who is the what is the terms that she used? Passive and receptive partners, I think. No, whatever. Sometimes she references sex, and then sometimes she references masculinity and femininity. But throughout the book, in different societies and different points in history, there is a very, very clear lesbophobic idea, which is evident to this day, that the masculine lesbian is the real lesbian. And the feminine lesbian, she's not really lesbian. She's kind of like bi. She's options. And the masculine lesbian turned her lesbian. Or when she's with the masculine lesbian, that's what makes her lesbian. And when she's not with the masculine lesbian, then she does not. She's like some bi gray area. Um and she kind of brings it up here to be like, but this has nothing to do with women. And like what? And then like this part is so bizarre to me. I don't necessarily disagree with it like entirely as a concept, but I don't think it's like the conclusion to this subject that she brought up in the book. Um But penetrating or enclosing was not the heart of the story. Recognizing that women could be sexual with one another and then confronting the fact that economic and social change loosened the bonds of compulsory marriage for women and created the possibility for women to choose one another have more to do with the creation of quote unquote lesbianism than the sex acts in which women engaged. So this is also like slightly turfy, I think. She's saying that like what what led to modern lesbianism as we understand it currently is more women's independence to like socially behave as lesbians rather than the actual fact that like, women have been having sex with each other, because she's saying like women have been having sex with each other throughout history even when they're not lesbians. um and I'm like it's kind of a turfy thing to say in some ways, and I don't know. It just feels so bizarre to me because it feels out of nowhere. It feels like it's not connected to anything else in the conclusion, and it's not really based on any of the other content in the book. I just found that a bit strange. And listen to this phrase here. A global view makes clear that both private and public places are important for love between women. That erotic love between women has sometimes fit nicely into all sorts of heterosexual societal arrangements. Fits nicely? Nicely? Like, it seems like she has like a neutral, like she's bought into all this polyamory shit or something. I don't know what the fuck is going on in her head. But it's like again, it's like the bar is so low. It's like with these women forced into marriages they didn't want to be in, and having like there was at least two instances in this book where co-wives protected one of the co-wives from having to have sex with the men. So like maybe that co-wife was an actual lesbian and never wanted to have sex with a man. Anyway, she's acting like these women being in marriages because it was like a necessity for survival, like that's okay because they were still having sex. And I'm like, she why does she act so like cavalier about it? Um um the erotic love between women has sometimes fit nicely into all sorts of heterosexual societal arrangements, and that the emergence of an identity based on sexual object choice is a minor part of the story of Sapphisties. And it's like, okay, so to her, really, it's more about like I don't understand. Like in the last paragraph, she was like lesbianism is about the social ability to prioritize women, like to have spaces for women, to do things with other women, to organize with women. That is kind of what she's saying lesbianism is. Then in the very next paragraph, she says, you know, regardless of relationships, we know that sex was occurring between women for a very long time, and that's the real history of sophistry is the sex between the women. And I'm like, why is that one paragraph after the other? It makes no fucking sense, man. Aquamarina says, I have zero interest in performing a stereotype that leaves me vulnerable to attack, and I'm not a lesbian, so quote unquote masculinity is not only attributed to gay women. Yeah, like I was saying, it's like an observable trend, and obviously there is a relation, but she's acting like the masculinity is the thing to be focused on, and like that's the lesbianism or whatever. It's very bizarre. Jay says a man in quote unquote women's clothes is quite an elaborate performance. Meanwhile, a woman in quote unquote men's clothes is just trying to be comfortable, but we allow society to pretend it's the same thing. Exactly. And it's like especially throughout history, like think about in like the 17 or 1800s the examples that we had in this book. Like women wore pants and then they went to university. And it's like it's not exactly yeah, I fucking agree with you. VF says the desire is what defines lesbians, not how much we got the freedom to act on our desires. Yeah, I agree. Um, and I also think it's like So again, I'm not expecting her to be a magician. Obviously, she can't know what was in people's minds when they were doing stuff, right? But there is several times throughout the book where she is like, "Yep, these like schoolgirls would like masturbate together as like a preparation for getting into their sexuality, like and sexuality not in terms of orientation, but like just sexual self." Um, and it's like, why do you give so many examples of straight women engaging in homosexual acts? Like it really is. It's really seems like this book is like about like instances of sex acts between women, not necessarily like lesbian couples love interest in each other. Yeah. Hannah says, so in her book, lesbianism is permitted in quote unquote society and sex between two women happens in history. Yeah, that's basically it. Okay, let's keep moving. Um, I will say, I don't know if this is controversial, but she brings up dildos quite a lot. Um, and I actually found it a bit interesting throughout history, like what they used to make it, when they used it, that kind of stuff. Um, I'm really surprised that there's much recorded history about that at all in the first place. Um, I found that interesting. Like that really literally seemed to me like she's like, okay, in this century, in this region, this woman did this thing. More like telling me a fact than like her opinions about weird shit. Yeah. Okay. Um I love how I stopped at Mahmoud Ahmadinejad trying to figure out how to pronounce it, and then I was like, "Oh, I know what that is." Okay. Um, also, this phrase. She said, "Despite the continuing long history of oppression and murderous violence directed at some times and in some places towards women who desire women," it's like there actually wasn't. I'm trying to think. I don't think there was a single instance in this book of a lesbian being murdered for being a lesbian. There was those 2 murder suicides where it was, like, both lesbians and they wanted to be together, and it was like a murder suicide. It's not like they were murdered by society for being a lesbian. I so it's bizarre to me that she brings up, like, society was murderously lesbophobic, and then she's never actually given us a whole fucking example in the whole 232 pages of this book. Um, her take on Sarah Walters is factually incorrect from knowing Walters' historian ex-partner personally. Hannah Reynolds, can you please email me? I don't know who you are, but you seem very interesting. Um, also, I don't know. I feel like there's probably a bunch of women who are like quite turfy. Like, dyke marches started to be a thing in like I think 1981 or 1980, no, 1984. Whatever, in the early 80s, okay? The women who organized that shit, like when it was actually like original dyke marches were female only. They had like bouncers on the sidewalks kicking men out of the parades because this was like a female only thing. Like I imagine that the women who organized those things are still around. And if I was like, I want to record some lesbian history for lesbians and put it on the internet, they'd probably be like fine. They're probably like in their 70s or 80s and very chill about the whole thing now. Um, Wait, so Hannah, you've read this book before? Or did you listen to my readings of it? um, okay. Yeah. And then the end quote is quite nice. We don't know who the fuck it's from. Let me try and look through the. Oh, I think I can figure it out here. Chapter 10. Okay, the very last citation for the whole book. But it's not very much information. It's just a name and a date. Not even a date, a name and a year. We're Ringa. 9. Goddesses or something. Goddess? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well. Oh, wow. Hannah said she listened to my readings. Like, not to diss myself or to diss anyone who listens to them, but when I listen to my own voice, it's like very cringy. And I'm like, how do you listen to that? So it's good to know you guys appreciate it. Anyway, I'm fucking done with this. I said I might do like an essay criticizing it or something. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I feel like I've spent enough time on this. Um, would you guys have an interest in me reading fiction? Cause like both of these books are like highly recommended lesbian fiction by lesbian authors, and I haven't read either of them. Um, I just wonder. Who is Barbara Ehrenreich? I've definitely heard that name before. Ocarina says I'll never read Dworkin, so if you have some of her, that would be great. I'm trying to do like less mainstream stuff. I feel like Dworkin is like so mainstream in radical feminism, and like all of her stuff is available as free PDFs online. So I doubt that I will spend time. Hannah says, but her putting down Sarah, whose partner Laura is a very significant historian of women slash lesbians in Georgian slash early Victorian times, really annoyed me. Um, I would love to like be able to interview lesbian historians. Like, I would love to just interview women who were like edited a lesbian magazine in the 90s, like published a lesbian zine in the 80s, or organized, like like I keep talking all the fucking time about finding some of the women from the lesbian organization of Toronto and interviewing them about like the bookshop and the zine and the organization and stuff. Julia says, "Isn't she a poly-les?" Who else is a poly-les? I don't fucking know, man. And like, to be honest with you, when it comes to literature, it's really hard to differentiate who's a poly-les and who isn't, because it's like all we have to do is say I'm a lesbian and then write from a lesbian perspective, and it's like, how am I supposed to know? I don't know. Hannah says your diction is great. You have a cute giggle. The book is shite. um. Oh, Hannah, are you a Brit of some kind? that you said shite. Uh, yeah. Well, so I started this book. There's a gay, well, queer woke crap. There's a queer bookstore in Toronto called Glad Day Books. It's like the longest run, the oldest queer bookstore in the world. So when I got on Clubhouse, um, there was some philosophy nerds who would literally just Clubhouse is like basically Twitter Spaces, but it's an app that's basically only Twitter Spaces. Um, when I got on Clubhouse, there was a lot of philosophy nerds who would just do like readings of Plato, and they would have like hundreds of people listening to them reading in like a second or third language, right? Plato, and then they would like have like discussions about it after. And I was like, oh, I should do that with lesbian history. Um, so I started reading this, which I got at Glad Day Bookstore in Toronto in 3 or 4 years ago now. I bought it because it was on clearance. Somebody spilled beer on it. Yeah, the bottom here is like kind of wrinkly. Somebody spilled beer on it because the bookstore is now like some kind of like pub slash cafe slash workshop space slash bookstore. It's kind of shit, but whatever. So they were selling it for like 50% off or something, and I was like, great, I'll buy it. And then so I finally started reading it on Clubhouse, and then I was like, this is first of all so American centric, and as a Canadian, that really rubs me the wrong way because I feel like everything that's geared towards Canadians is basically for Americans, and it pisses me off. And then also that it was like so much about gay men, which is like obviously understandable. The book is kind of like half and half. Um, but I was like, no, I want so I should have just gotten Lillian Faderman's lesbian focused book, which I'm sure I will do eventually. But again, that's very, very mainstream and accessible. This is very mainstream and accessible. I doubt that I'm gonna be really be reading things. I really want to get like books that are out of print and do those on my YouTube. So that way if you can't find the book, you can at least listen to it. Um Someone mentioned to me that there is like a Google Drive with a bunch of like second wave books on it, but I'm like if it's on the Google Drive, that means other people are finding it. I want to find the things that are not on the Google Drive, you know. Anyway, it's almost 4 p.m. So I streamed for almost 5 hours today. Well, that's good. I worked for like 5 hours, streamed for 5 hours. Um I also have this book which is amazing, but I for sure cannot read it on YouTube. Like it would be disrespectful to the women who are in it. But like look, it's a real book with an ISBN number. It's called You Told Me You Were Different, an anthology of harm. And it's about Tim's hurting women. Um, there's a second edition of it now. It's like essays, short stories, poems, some like graphic novel stuff. It's pretty spectacular and amazing. But for that, I would like to actually interview. So the first bean spread asked, where did you get that? I want a copy. The first edition, you can't get it anymore. I have the first edition. The second edition, I think you can get it right now. DM me or I'll DM me and ask me and I will find the link for it and send it to you. Um yeah. uh so when it comes to cotton ceilings, it's basically an anthology of cotton ceiling. For that I would like what year is the first edition from? I think it's this year. Like she was basically working I think on the second edition when the first edition came out as far as I understand it. Yeah, I don't see the year, but it was I'm pretty sure it was 2021. No, but I would actually like to interview caught stealing survivors, and not necessarily to talk about the actual physical assault, but to talk about like the social aspect before and after. Cuz to me the thing is that I don't think people realize um I don't think people realize that when they're being like, just be nice, just use the right pronouns, like, don't misgender, that, like, by doing that, you're passing the buck until the point where the only person left to say no is like the lesbian who is being violated. Every person up to that has said yes to this person. And the only person left to say no is like the actual one being violated at the very end. Nothing before that has told them this is not okay. And I don't think that most like woke normie people um I don't think most woke normie people understand that that is what they're contributing to when they're like just play along, just be nice. And so to me it's the cotton stealing or even just I think there is a lot of because the cotton stealing is so unspeakable in the woke community. I think there are genuinely a lot of woke women who are not aware of what is really going on because they hear something and then they're told, "Oh no, that's the crazy turfs lying about stuff." And they're like, "Okay." Like, I think a lot of women genuinely don't know what's going on. And if you have someone explain, like, in detail the social aspects before and after, and how the community treated them, and how that affected their ability to, like, overcome that or you know what I mean? I think that would be, like, very, very impactful. Um, okay. Why is everyone saying Jay has a good idea? Where's Jay? What did she say? I think that they're supposed to be kind of hard to get your hands on, because it's like it's not supposed to be to weaponize these women's experiences. It's supposed to be like for healing and consciousness raising among um like I don't know. That's kind of the impression I got from speaking to the editor and some of the women who contributed. Okay. I was thinking about that, the like libraries. Um uh I think it would be kind of a cool thing if like for example, if there was like a lesbian group in Canada that would just like like if you're all in one city, the women of the group would make a list of like 20 books that they think are really important that should be in the library of that city. And then they should all request um that the library have like order these books in so that like not like to transfer, but like to have these books at the library. Like um I just feel like so much of this stuff is like inaccessible. The things that are not PDFs online already. So like, if every time somebody recommended, like, a second wave book to you, you could just go to the library and find it. Like, I can't do that, at least where in the libraries where I live, they don't really have second wave stuff beyond, like, the really, really basics, like Gynecology by Mary Daly or whatever. Um, Izzy says Benji wasn't your trans support group run by the dickhead that ran the original cotton sealing workshop. Yes, Morgan Page, that is who ran my trans support group. Bean Sprout says, have you spoken to Angela Wild of Get the L Out, the UK? She did research about cotton sealing, and that whole BBC article was based on some of it. Yes, I'm obsessed with that research. I reference it all the time. Um, for a while before, I think that happened like a little bit before I got Frauenkultur. Beansprout, why are you showing this to me? And then the next thing is like a puke emoji. Is it horrible? Ooh, second wave feminist archive. Oh my god, what? Okay. Thank you very much, Beansprout. Wait, somebody else said something. Hannah says it was Glinner that made me realize how crap things were for lesbians and women. Mm-hmm. Jay Marie says for victims only. I mean, not necessarily, but that's where I heard about it, and that's how I got it, and I was invited to write for it. So, like, it seems that that's it. Um, what I would encourage you to do is to go on Goodreads, or no, I didn't tell you guys the name of it or anything, did I? But just to go on Goodreads and give it a good review, even if you haven't read it, because um, it like you know that makes a big difference. Tossstone says people need to know how unsafe gender ideology is for lesbians. Yeah, exactly. Like they think they're helping lesbians because they view us all as part of like the alphabet soup, and be nice and just do what they ask you. If they ask you to do the pronoun, do the pronoun. It's that simple. Just be nice and like, ooh, the lesbians they support the trans people. Like so, I'm supporting the trans people. I'm being like on the lesbian side and whatever. Like they really don't know. Yeah. J. Marie says I think Gay Chapman needs to start a lesbian press. None of the old ones exist anymore. There is the Velvet Chronicle. The editor, and I think she writes all the articles, or almost all the articles, is Julia Diana Robertson, who's a lesbian. Um, she also writes for After Ellen. Here, I'll just link you to the Goodreads. I used to think I was too casual with the live streams, but I think it's actually good. I think you guys seem to enjoy it. And I feel I can definitely do it for longer. Oh, I can finally say I finished fucking Sapphisties. Um, oh, there it is. Oh no, it went away. Oh, here we are. Okay. This is the Goodreads page for that. Wait, what? Hannah says, "Did you see his perving on the founder of the women's only chat app? So repulsive." Are you talking who are you talking about? The only man I've seen mentioned is Glinner. Is that who you're talking about? Mandy says there's a lesbian library where I live, but it's only older women because the younger generation keeps calling them TERFs. Honestly, I would fucking love that. If there was a lesbian library where I lived, or even in a different city a few hours away that I could drive to. Even if it was all older lesbians and I was just allowed to go in there once in a while to get something or see them, I would fucking die. It'd be amazing. Yes. Beansprout says, I hate the way women have to pour their souls and discuss painful experiences just to assert that women should get single sex spaces. I think that's why the book is not like I asked the editor if it would be okay for me to quote. I found it very powerful, obviously. So I asked her if it would be okay. Oh, Karen is here. Hello, Karen. If it would be okay for me to quote parts of it or screen cap or pictures of parts of it to post online, and she said it's better not don't do that. That these women shared their stories to be shared with their sisters, not to be like politicized on the internet, right? Um, yeah. So I'm obviously going to respect that, but just I think it's a great book. So um, if you want to try and get your hands on it or support the author in some way, I would appreciate that, and I think that's a great idea. Um, Beansprout says, sorry, Dr. Beansprout says, have you read Dr. M's 3-part series about AGP and abuse? I have read the first part of that series. I also love her the Just Be Nice Feminism, the four-part series. Oh fuck. I love Dr. M. Everything by Dr. M is amazing. I would love to have her on my channel. Like I said, my list of women that I want on my channel is like super fucking long. Um this weekend I have like a family Zoom thing, and I'm going to ask my tech type family about computers and stuff. Hopefully I can buy like a good new computer in the next month, and then I can start interviewing people and like having the videos on my file on my computer and everything. Hannah says at the end of one of his messes with her, he was full on perving about how gorgeous she was and why couldn't he, Glinner, get one like her? Ugh, get one like her. So objectifying. Oh, bye, Karen. Um, I'm doing a live stream on Sunday again, Karen. I don't know. You can probably catch that. Um, Have fun teaching piano. That doesn't surprise me. Um, Glinner has been quite pervy recently, and it's like again, it's like why? Um, insemination opportunities says Aqua Marina in a reference to um, a reference to Excelansic. Um, well, maybe not a reference to Excelansic, but she is the one who's brought it up recently, explaining patriarchy basically. VF says, who is Sal? Sal Grover is the woman who made this app called Giggle. The app is female specific. So it has like an AI that's supposed to like to look at a picture of you and decide if you're female or not. Um, so there are some Tims who make it through the filter, but then you can report them and they get removed. And the Tims are only in two parts of the app. They're in the dating part of the app and they're in the feminism part of the app. The rest of the app doesn't have any Tims on it. So, um, I don't know. The app is really interesting. I just think it hasn't reached critical mass. But Aquamarina, isn't the avian cuttlefish video probably on Odyssey right now? VF says, "Oh, that awesome woman way out of his league. He is batting a 3 max." Wow, that's yeah. I mean, I've always been like this. That's why I'm like I think maybe it was really obvious when I was young that I was a lesbian. Cause like literally since I was like very, very young, every single woman I knew who was married or girl who had a boyfriend or whatever, I was like, "You're too good for him. You deserve better." So like that's what I think about like literally all women in every situation. Izzy says this live chat is the one thing that feels like we are still able to have a female only women's group that centers lesbians without worrying that we are going to get shut down, protested, invaded by men. Yeah, I definitely eventually I need to work it into my schedule. I think maybe I'll make it a thing in the summer cuz like my contract job is only a thing during the school year. So, um maybe in the summer I'll do like weekly Discord hangouts with you guys or something cuz like where it's voice. So we're all speaking on voice instead. Um and like you can just listen, you don't have to talk. I like this idea of creating like female specific places on the internet to hang out. Um and like obviously like I was saying YouTube is public. It's not female only. Like it seems like my chats are 99% female. Um I don't want to say men are not allowed to watch my videos, men are not allowed to comment on my videos because I know that that is just asking for trouble. So I'm just saying that men are centered in my video, women are centered in my video. That women are centered on my channel. That was funny. Um, VF said the same thing as me. It's like because she's a lesbian, she thinks women deserve better. He said so I can. Beansprout is like so I can leave some troll comments. Teehee. I almost never delete any comments, even if they're like really really bad. I think it kind of makes them look bad. Like it's kind of like what not the Streisand effect. What is the word I'm thinking about? The Jerry Springer effect? I don't know. But it's like I want people to look at their crazy shit and then to look at me saying like normal things and be like, wow, these people are nuts. I basically never delete anything from my YouTube, like in the comments and stuff. Okay, well, let's talk about which book we're gonna do next. I mean, obviously, no, it's the Streisand. You're right. Okay, thank you. Um, okay, I've been awake for 12 hours now. Well, in 2 minutes. Um, so I've narrowed down the next book into 3 books, like as a possibility. So this I 100% am definitely going to read, and I think I might even be able to interview the author potentially. Maybe I don't want to get anything else into that, but I think it would be cool. Hannah says, as an ancient person, Hannah, how old are you? Can you please tell me? Um, you using guys, not guys, is flipping brilliant. Thank you. Um, I think that I was the first rad femme to start doing that on Twitter in like 2017, but I didn't come up with it. I saw it on Tumblr. Um, but I definitely played a role in popularizing it and spreading it. I'm very fucking into it. I do it all the time. Like, a lot of my social, like, I have curated my life. Like I've told you guys, I work a lot, and to see people, like to see my family and my friends, I have to travel quite a bit. Like I spend a lot of time driving around Canada, well, Ontario really. Um, so I need to be like very particular with my time. And why the fuck did I bring this up? Oh yeah, so because I need to be very careful with my time, like I would say almost all of my social interaction is outside of my roommates. They're like actual fucking turfs. Um, and whenever I'm with turfs, I always like use female specific language as much as possible. Um, you'll notice in the last couple of live stream or all my live streams really in the last 2 months. No, it's only been a month and 1 week that I've been streaming again. I often will say like, "Oh, this is a problem that people have," and then I'll correct myself. No, this is a problem women have. I really don't like the fact that I think of things so like generally and grouped together, women and men. When it's like women and men are different. We experience things differently. Like, um, yeah, I don't know. I definitely like programmed myself to think that way while I was in the queer cult, and like here we are 7 years out of the or 5 years that I've been like D-trans, 7 years that I've been a rad femme, and I still can't 100% of the time get. Hannah said she's in her 50s. You're not even that old. Um, I thought you were gonna say you were like 85 or something. Uh, VF says Tumblr creates the most rad femme terms online, but I don't know if they created Gines. I feel like Gines probably was a thing in like the heyday of lesbian feminism or radical feminism or something. It just feels so obvious. I don't think any of us came up with it recently. Um, okay, so the book. So what I was thinking is I will definitely read this because multiple times multiple women have recommended this book to me, and they've told me that it's like kind of like interesting like lesbian like life story, but also kind of like a how to grassroots thing. So I'm definitely going to read this. This also is very mainstream and very accessible, but I think it's like the perfect thing. It fits perfectly at the tone of my channel. So, but I'm wondering if we should wait until I read a book that really pisses me off before we have this to like soothe ourselves. Um so these are anthologies of essays, and I can do them out of order and put them all in a playlist so that they're all together afterwards. So I was thinking Maybe what I'll do next is I think I'm going to start with this. This is a philosophy book about the metaphysics, the politics of reality, essays and feminist theory by Marilyn Fry. It's like a metaphysics, feminism kind of thing. Um, it's not that long. The whole book is 171 pages. Uh, and the essays have sub like chapters within them, so it should be really easy to read. Um, I feel intimidated because my knowledge of philosophy ended in high school. Unlike many people, like my ex was a philosopher. Well, like not like published or anything, but like and my family member is also a philosopher. I feel very like inadequate with philosophy, but fucking love it. It's so interesting. It's like physics. I love physics. So interesting. I can't do math, but I like physics. So I don't know. I figure it's a place to start. We're gonna read this. I'll give you my thoughts. Maybe the reaction video will just be me being like I'm confused. We'll see. Um, so yeah, I just don't want to. I don't want to be reading like three books at once. I want it to be focused. Um, yeah. So I think on Monday then I'll start reading this. Um, so what is this? So this book was published in 1983. There's a preface and an introduction. That seems a bit overkill, but whatever. Okay, so these are the titles of the essays. The first one is 17 pages. It's just called Oppression. Second one is called Sexism. The third one, The Problem That Has No Name. In and Out of Harm's Way, Arrogance and Love. A Note on Anger. Some Reflections on Separatism and Power. On Being White. Toward a Feminist Understanding of Race and Race Supremacy. Lesbian Feminism and the Gay Rights Movement. Another View of Male Supremacy, Another Separatism. To Be and Be Seen, The Politics of Reality. Most of the essays are about 20 pages long. Some of them are 30. So I know from this book that I can read 40 pages at a time. The longest chapter in here, I think, took me an hour and 54 minutes to read. So, and the print is much smaller in this book. So you can see the print is like huge in this book. Well, I mean, maybe it doesn't look that way to you, but to me, it does. Like when I think of reading books, I think of like these kind of books where the print is like quite squishy. I don't know. Anyway, Hannah says Marilyn Fry is interesting. Yes, like okay, that's the other thing. I'm so bad at reading nonfiction. I have read like most of Transsexual Empire, most of Pornography by Dworkin, and then like a smattering of like one or two chapters of other radfem stuff. I have read very little second wave literature. Parts of Right Wing Women by Dworkin. So I was like, I need to read this stuff. And I was like, if I spend money on it and get my hands on it, then I will have like an incentive to read it. Um, so what? Moral, judicial, political, ontology, epistemology, and Wittgenstein, a sprinkle of borderland philosophy, is born from Anzaldúa, a pioneer radfem with interest in the philosophies of ethics, aesthetics, and happiness. What? I would love to read. Like, is there a Radfem Chomsky? Is basically what I would need to know. Um, hmm. Because I'm so interested in like the radical feminist perspective on language. And I don't mean language as in like, oh, don't call trans men because then you're like buying into the gender. I mean like language as in like very, very foundational. Like I've read some of what Dworkin has written about language, and it's like it's interesting, and she's pointing out what the problems are and where the power is, but it's not like a philosophical like analysis of the whole thing. So Tossstone says influenced by Mary Daly or not. Yeah, I think there's a shout out to Mary Daly in the introduction of this. Yeah, there's a shout out to a lot of fucking people. Like, okay, I'm gonna read you the list of people in the preface. Women in the preface. See, I keep doing that. I keep saying people when I mean women. In addition to those already mentioned, the works of the following women have significantly and traceably influenced my own: Kathleen Barry, Michelle Cliff, Alex Dobkin, Susan Griffin, Sarah Hoagland. Is it Hoagland or Hogland? Like I read it, I don't know how to pronounce it though. Like I've heard of her, obviously. Susan K. Langer, Kate Millett, Robin Morgan, Iris Murdoch, Catherine Nicholson, Adrienne Rich. I am grateful for their others to whom I am grateful for their having the spirit for the risky conversations that are necessary to those who would all go include Sandra Bartkey, Claudia Card, Michelle Cliff, Harriet Des Moines, Retha Fowler, Alyssa Yeager, Catherine Madsen, Nellie McKay, Pat Michalek, Catherine Nicholson, Sandra Siegel, Reggie Teasley, Sarah Thompson, Barry Thorne, Eileen Van Tessel, and many smart and stubborn women in my classes. Yeah. It definitely seems interesting. I'm excited to read it. Maybe I should end the stream right now and start reading it. I actually might do that because the preface and introduction could be like one reading before the essays. Um Oh, the bridge called my back. Yes, of course. Of course. I mean, that is also I have okay. So I want to get into well, first of all, I don't even fucking know anything about lesbian feminism. I feel like I haven't read enough radical feminist literature to get into lesbian feminism and understand where they're the same and where they're different. Because I know that there's similarities and differences. And my thought was like, I need to understand radical feminism before I go into like the offshoot particular feminisms, right? And same thing with like womanism and intersectionality. I was like, I need to understand like my starting point before I like move into like the more specialized particular ones to have like a better I don't know. Um I don't know. VF says, but you are a lesbian. No, I know. But like Dworkin, for example, is radical feminist, but it's not lesbian feminist, right? And like I don't think Marilyn Fry is a lesbian. Uh I just feel like I wanted to get some like foundational stuff under my feet before I got into the lesbian stuff. Tossstone says it started with Mary Daly. That too. I really need to read gynecology, but it's not something to be read on the channel, I don't think. Yeah. Oh, happy birthday, Izzy Fox. Oh, you're waking up right now? Are you in New Zealand or Australia? VF says the het femmes are very watered down. I really liked reading Dworkin. I felt like I was being smashed in the face with a brick. It's so like in your face. It reminds me of like Rebecca Clark is a composer and she writes in a very like Ernest Bloch style, um like contemporary but not like post-tonal. And she is always compared to men. Everybody is like you're everybody is like she writes like a man, like it's so like rough and it's so like in your face and like chunky and there's no like emotions to it. And like when I read Andrea Dworkin, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm reading the kind of book that people are like, women can't write like this. It's so like tough and mean, and women are all nice and soft and like I don't know. I just like that. I enjoy it. VF. I love your attitude. She's like she's like, well, that's a step up from being a true. Oh my god. Okay, VF. Do you consider Dworkin to be like a nice femme? Okay. Her use of language is brilliant to read. Who? You mean Dworkin? Sisterhood is powerful. The anthology. It's in rare print. I have one. If any of you ever have book recommendations for me, you are more than welcome to email me the names so I can add them to my list of things to try and find. Oh, Scum Manifesto. I've read most of Scum Manifesto. I'm so bad following through on nonfiction. Like even Crazy Like Us, which is like obviously by a man, it's, Ethan Waters. Um, but like I started it almost a year ago and I got like 80% through and I didn't finish the last 20%. I'm so bad at finishing nonfiction. Scum was good though. I should finish it. I should just restart it and read the thing. Chica Feminista, oh sorry, Chicana Feminista says I was a kid reading Scum. How old were you reading Scum? Um I remember the first time I read Scum. It was back when I was still in the mindset of like, you should respect people's pronouns until they prove that they're like don't deserve that, or when I was like in this like kind of nice femme, like rad femme but nice femme phase. Um, uh, and I remember reading Scum and being like, wow, I'm one of like the mean turfs now, and I'm like, I don't think I became a mean turf after reading Scum. VF says it should be the rad femme Bible in my view. Fair enough, man. Um, Ugh, fucking Russian troll. Uh, wow, reading Scum at 14, man. Anzaldua, please. Okay. Valerie's my queen. Oh no. My queen. Okay, also I was thinking, should I write music? I don't even know if I can really write music. I think what I can do is like take pop songs and like make a backing track and then change the words to the pop songs. That's kind of what Mr. Meno does, isn't it? Um, Izzy Fox says Sheila Jeffreys talks a lot about lesbian feminism as distinct from radical feminism in Lesbian Revolution. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like I want to have like a distinct understanding of like each of these things separately. Like I know womanists consider themselves distinct from radical feminists, and so I want to have like a very clear understanding of radical feminism like as a whole before I jump into other stuff. Um Lesbian nuns changed my life. See, okay, but this book was supposed to be my global perspective of lesbians before, because the lesbian nun books. If correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're mostly like German and French focused, right? So I was like, I want to get like a global perspective before I get into that. Um, yeah, I'm happy to read books by political lesbians. Like I actually was thinking of reading Andrea Long Chu's book. I don't think I would read the whole book. I would read maybe one chapter of it or something. Like I don't necessarily need to read things that I agree with. I mean, this book is an example of that. I think most things I read, I will agree with parts of it and disagree with parts of it, right? Like, I'm sure there's stuff in this book that I'm gonna be like, "That's a bit bullshit." Probably, I don't know. Um, oh, interesting. Izzy says, "I used to defend political lesbianism until I listened to Radical Ramblings' YouTube playlist about all the shady things that well-known political lesbians slash radfems have written about actual lesbians." Very interesting. I need to go find that video. I've only listened to a few of Radical Ramblings videos actually. Honestly, when I open YouTube, I have like two YouTube accounts. This one and then like one that I use for like all the time. And when I open YouTube, I go on that one and I want to listen to things that have nothing to do with gender or feminism or anything. Like I want mindless crap. VF says I'm not down with that every woman can be a lesbian nonsense. No. But I'm just saying, like, if a book is written by a political lesbian, to me that's not a reason to not read the book. That's all I'm saying. Um Thank you to moderators for moderating. I appreciate it. Okay. I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Um oh my god, last names. Okay, not to get into whatever you guys are talking about. You do your thing. Yeah, Beansprout says no. That doesn't surprise me. Um, so well, okay, I'll weigh in a bit. I am critical of marriage. I am like anti-heterosexual marriage, but it's like y- women are gonna get married, and if they're gonna get married, I think we might as well like mitigate the potential negative down the cons of marriage for women. Um, so I'm trying to like make a point, and Chicana feminist does like lesbian marriage is hot. Thank you. um, yeah. Anyway, okay, whatever. So, what was I about to say or do or something? I don't know. We need to end this stream, and yeah, Izzy says, like I'm pretty sure Sheila Jeffries has been with the same woman since 1981, and I still love her books. It just annoys me when they say sexuality is a choice. Oh, that thing, Zuby. Did you guys see Zuby? He was like, if a woman doesn't want to take my last name, that's a red flag. And I'm like, what is it a red flag for? She doesn't want to submit to you 1000% of the time. If that's the kind of wife you're looking for, then fucking stay away from anyone who, like, stay away from all the women, really. I mean, like, whatever. Toss Stone says, I will never marry it as meaningless. Um, but oh, that was something interesting, actually, in the chapter 9 of Sapphisties. Talked about the different perspectives on marriage, which obviously I've heard of them before. But it made me sad when that one lesbian said being able to legally get married made her feel like absolved her of shame. And I was like, that's really sad. You shouldn't need a patriarchal institution to validate your feelings to get rid of your pain, right? Um and also um sorry, I just keep getting distracted by the live chat. Yeah, the Zuby thing is super creepy. Then he started making more MRA talking points. Shockingly, who could have fucking predicted that? He's literally a men's rights activist. Did do you guys not remember that he tweeted a bunch of stuff that was like women, if you don't want to like do your makeup and get your hair done, then like how do you expect to deserve a man? And like all kinds of weird bullshit. He's literally a men's rights activist. Um uh oh, so he started saying it's about commitment. if they don't want to take my name, that means they're not committed to me. And I'm like, if you really think that, then you should be just as open to taking their name as they need to be taking your name. Like, it's literally about domination. It's so fucking disgusting. Um, okay, what is this? Tossstone says dress code puts me off. Even when I was like a teenager and I thought I would get married to like a man because I thought I was a gay man, I always thought my wedding would be like, before I became critical of marriage, I always thought my wedding would be like in a field, like 10 people, one of those like archways with like flowers on it and like nobody wearing shoes, like very casual. And then you have like a picnic outside. That's kind of what I was like. That's like my dream wedding. Very chill, not very expensive, very intimate. Um, I fucking hate weddings. It's like everybody's looking at you. And it's like, I don't know. It's like everybody's on display for like hours, like a whole fucking day. It's really stressful. I hate it. Oh, sorry. I was looking for the. I thought there was more context to this comment. Oh, yeah. So Hannah says, but even she had to take her father's name. My bestie just picked a name she liked and went with her first name and changed to that. No. Yeah. I know a woman who changed her last name to something that she thought was like female centric. Um, and I actually have thought about that for a long fucking time. The problem is I could never land on like a last name that I actually like. I actually really, really hate my last name. My last name is very like distinctive and it has a lot of connotations that don't apply to me. So I fucking wanted to change it for years. Um I just can't decide like something lesbian-y or feminist-y, right? There's been times every couple of year, like every year or two, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna finally change my name, and I'll make like a list, and I'll start paring down the list, and be like, what do you guys think of the list, and like, what do you like this name and that name, and then I'll be like, I don't know about this like as a forever thing, I don't know, and then I'll like give up on it. I'm just very like indecisive about it. Maybe it's because I changed my name to Benji once, and I know it's like a sketchy thing. Um, okay, so you know what? I need to stop live streaming today. I'm sure once I'm done streaming this, I'm gonna feel tired. Um, Maybe what I'll do is tomorrow I have work in the afternoon and in the morning I need to catch up. Oh no. Cause I'm in like this book club thing and the meeting is like on Sunday morning and I haven't read the books yet or the essays yet. So I need to do that tomorrow morning. Okay. So I'm gonna say tentatively that we are going to start this book on Monday night or afternoon. Actually, not even tentatively. Let's schedule this bitch. Shit. I just swear. Misogynist swear. Where is my app for the thing? Here we go, my schedule. OMG, I still have chai. Chai is the best. I tried to like buy chai to make it at home and it's like fucking garbage. Um OMG, I don't even have work on Monday. Okay. So what I propose is that on Monday I will do like maybe 4 streams. One that's like a reading or I don't know. We'll see how it goes because I do need breaks. So maybe I'll read like the preface and introduction and then I'll like start a new video and read the oppression essay. Oh wait, there's sexism. Wait, so this essay isn't very long. That's 17 pages. I mean, I don't know. But I'm gonna read at least the first essay and do at least one reaction video on Monday. I might do 2 though, because I don't have either of my jobs. I've nothing on Monday. Probably means I should like clean the house or go grocery shopping or something. Whatever. Um. Okay. I don't know what's happening in the live chat. Okay. It looks quite intense. Man, Benji, you work a lot. This is actually, I have quit one of my jobs recently. I am working less now, which is why I have time for YouTube. Like, I used to have like a weekday morning job that was like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then I had like a weekend morning job that was like 5:30 to 2. And then I had like, and I still have like a kind of gig job on like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights. And then I was trying to get another job to do weekend evenings. But then I was like, no, I need some, because I was working 7 days a week. So I was like, I need some days of the week where I don't work. I was working like 60 hours a week, maybe 70 hours a week at some point. Um, yeah. So I gave myself weekends. Izzy says, even if we don't get married, my girlfriend wants me to ask her father for her hand in marriage just so he has to respond and have the memory forever. That's funny. I hope for rain on Monday so I can contribute. Toss stones, what kind of work do you do? Do you do like farming or construction or something that you can't work when it rains? Um I like when there's like a lot of snow because nobody comes to my morning job and then we can just like sit around doing nothing. It's nice. Keep saying I'm gonna finish the stream. That should be my catchphrase. I'm gonna finish the stream. Oh, you're a gardener. That's very interesting. Okay. So when I say I'm gonna end the stream, I need to actually mean it. Okay, I actually fucking mean it. Because I am tired and hungry. Ugh, and I have to do laundry. Anyway. Okay. Okay. I will see you guys on Sunday. Okay. Bye. Have a good night or morning or whatever it is where you are. Okay. Bye.